Are we ready to start recording?
Yeah, we are live.
Some version of life. Okay, we're recording.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan.
We are once again going through network television, because me and Nathan generally don't watch network television, to explore what does everybody like about network television. Oh yeah, I have a correction I have to make from last week. I did get one thing right. It is Norway, Sweden, and Finland.
Okay.
The cool ass bridge I was talking about, not in Norway, not in Oslo. The bridge itself does start with an O. It's called the Øresund Bridge, and it goes from Sweden to Denmark.
Okay. All right.
And that is so it's some co-production between Denmark and Sweden, a show called The Bridge, which came here to America as The Bridge.
Oh,
So
sorry about that, everyone, but we're willing to accept what we did was wrong. I hope we can all move on from this incident.
well, I did hesitate somewhat. I said I always preface it as like, I think I have this right, and I did not. So
Yeah, I've been prefacing most of my life with that. So,
although it was weird that I picked out Oslo as the capital of Norway and associated with the bridge. I don't know how some of the information was correct, just misappropriated. I don't know how I did that.
yeah, it was a confusion of countries that are seldom in the news, so therefore confusing.
Yeah, but then I was trying to put the bridge between Norway and Sweden, but it's between Sweden and Denmark.
So what do we really know about Denmark? I mean, supposedly it's the happiest country in the world. Other than that,
Yeah,
I don't know.
but as always, we start with NCIS New Orleans.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want me to read the synopsis of the episode?
Yeah, I got it. Season 1, Episode 4, The Recruits. Original air date, October 14th, 2014, CBS Tuesday. After a Navy SEAL is found murdered in a sorority house, the NCIS team must determine if the motive pertained to one of his classified missions or a collegiate foul play. Meanwhile, Pride's daughter, Laurel, pays the NCIS office a visit. Shanley Caswell stars as Pride's daughter, Laurel. Credit on Internet Movie Database. Showrunner Gary Glasberg. Written by Gary Glasberg, Sam Humphrey, and Sonia Witten. And directed by Oz Scott.
No. So this is a pretty standard episode.
Okay, well, I was going to say it was probably the best episode so far, but I don't know what you think.
Well, I mean, again, it starts off like, what's this going to lead into? And it becomes like local trouble. It's like, oh, was this guy killed because of something he saw? Because he was a Navy SEAL? Or, where's this going? And it's like, no, it's a local thing.
Well, I did there's a lot of misdirects, because immediately you start off with a dead girl at a party, but then she's not dead. But then there is a dead guy. Or actually, you see some of the dead guy, but really there's a girl crying covered in blood. You're like, what's that about?
Yeah, it seemed. It had a good beginning, but it kind of wandered off for me into a sort of mediocrity. Again, interesting story, but it's not. Not what I was hoping for reading the synopsis.
Yeah, well, I think it just this was probably the show with the most misdirect, so I guess I appreciated it more because it had me guessing. Even though I kind of called something not right away. In my notes, I write questions is this what's going to happen? And so when they had the security guard there the second time, I was like, okay, this character is kind of superfluous. So the fact that they're bringing him back again for another scene where he doesn't really reveal much of anything, it's like, oh, he did it. Yeah. And I was just a pure guess off of just
why is this background character reappearing?
Yeah.
The creepy let's hit on Brody guy.
We have Wade watch again. She sits on her crime case
Yeah.
at the dead body. And this time it's indoors, so she doesn't have to sit down, but she still sits down on her crime case. So someday that's going to be revealed why she
Yeah.
does it.
And Pride's family troubles return to devil him some more because now his daughter appears suddenly,
Yeah.
almost without warning, and in this episode.
It's because the episode deals with the college, so it's like let's bring in his college age daughter to have him worry about things like, is my daughter gonna become a prostitute now? It's like,
Yeah.
no, but that's what he worries about.
Now, in the wider real world, are girls in college being prostitutes? Is that like a real thing going on a lot, or is it?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. Yeah, because I heard about that and I was like, I could see that, but then again, I could not see that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's like, that there's probably some side escort stuff going on, but like, I'm not in part of that world. I could definitely see a bunch of girls doing like cam girl stuff because like,
Yeah, that I could see because I don't really
that I can see, but prostitution doesn't really. Also, it's like, I don't know. It's another thing about like, this is kind of, I don't know, it's like a trope. It's kind of tired, but like I get it. But like the impetus for almost every crime in these shows, where it's just like somebody who's like started out as innocent and becomes evil, is purely based on money for college or money for medical bills. It's like, that's the basis for every conflict in every TV show.
And then in this one, don't forget we got the Russians.
Yeah.
They are the world's worst sex traffickers, and they've been doing it in our country for a while. When it was happening in Ukraine or something, it's like, whoa, isn't that terrible? But when it starts happening in Cleveland, it's like, we got to do something about this.
Well, actually, like at the end, I wasn't sure if the Russians were involved or if that's a misdirect, because then I think they're implying that the one girl was like the head of it all, but she was like obscuring it and kind of like misdirecting towards the Russians, and you don't really get closure on the whole thing. Like, well, who was really involved? Because there's like a mystery about who was really ahead of it at the end of it, but then it just kind of ends. It's like, all right, we don't have 3 episodes to wrap the. It's like we got 3 minutes to wrap this up, not 3 episodes.
Well, what I took it at was the sorority girl that was running it locally was part of a larger organization, but
yeah.
The investigation wasn't going to lead anywhere because those guys are just going to close their mouth and call their lawyers. But we can charge her and the security guard because we
have that part where like the his informant like picks up like the Russian guy and he goes and interrogate him, and then the Russian guy pulls a gun on a federal agent. It's like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. It's going to lead down the road to victory. Just start waving a gun around and launch. Like, oh no, please, we're done. That's how it works. I mean, some people seem to think that by the way they act, but it never really works out for anyone.
Because there, like at some point there was like a bit where it's like, these Russian guys, this crime syndicate is like, it's so impervious that like not even NCIS can do anything about it because they're just like so beyond the law. But like by the end of it, it's like, no, they're lullable.
Yeah, you can deport them and put them in prison forever and stuff like that. One thing I noticed in this, this is why I love TV and TV writers. The what do I call it? The Black Talon myth reappeared in this briefly.
Okay, that's what I have on here. Is that a real or not?
No, it's not real. I mean, this isn't the show for the Black Talon was a very effective hollow point introduced in 1990 that had a very fearsome appearance and a black oxide coating that, whenever you read anything in the news media, especially by people who go to Columbia journalism school and have never seen a gun fired, everything becomes, it's almost like reading the Inquirer about aliens. It's like, oh, this is all a bunch of crap, but because supposedly that black coating was a Teflon coating that would shoot through police body armor, which it was not.
Yeah.
And they were lethally more effective as hollow points than other hollow pointed ammunition on the market at that time. No, they were not. They were equally as effective as anything else. They just had, because it was called Black Talon, it was marketing brilliance until the news got a hold of it. And then it's like, oh, we got to withdraw this from the market and then bring back the exact same thing, which you can buy today, but it doesn't look black. So, yeah.
Well, also there's the thing like if you watch Demolition Ranch, also the myth of like what a bulletproof vest can stop. It's like, oh, it'll stop handgun bullets, but absolutely will not stop pretty much any rifle bullet whatsoever. You're gonna need like sappy plates for that.
Yeah, I mean, all you need to do is just like do a brief rundown of Newtonian physics and material in motion. Like, how fast does it go? How much does it weigh? And you can pretty much figure out what it's going to do. But it gets crazy when it's So the Black Talon myth reappeared in 2014. Way after that. So it's like, oh, that was tossed around the writer's room.
It's like
You ever
that.
seen a gun? Yeah.
Or it's like that thing in like, oh, it hasn't been 24 hours, so we can't declare them a missing persons. Like that's just a fabrication of TV shows.
That's an interesting that's a storyline that gives the bad guys time to like set up the kidnapping or whatever they're going to do. It's like give you a head start.
Or it makes the police lazy so that the person has to take the law into their own hands.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because the police are not interested in enforcing the law in chosen movies. I gotta finish eating this donut. I mean, in real life, most police can't help you because they're working on 38 other cases at that time, but it's not because they're lazy.
Also, we have the lab guy is like a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
He says something about like the moon landing and Sasquatch.
Yeah.
And I don't think that ages well. Like, no. I'm not sure if he's joking or if that's just a quirk of his character. It's like, you're a scientist. You can't believe in this garbage.
Yeah, I think that's what the vibe I got from that is that this is a guy who's way too smart, and he goes on these mental exercises.
Yeah.
Because he's a master of the whatever scientific field he's in, but he likes to take these forays into bullshit because a little magic in the world is fun. But of course, it's not true. It's the same reason I like conspiracy stuff. I don't believe any of it, but damn, is it magical to think that way sometimes.
And here, the Navy SEAL that was killed, his name is Blake, and I have here is like, what, Blake's parents were Marines that were killed at the Pentagon on 9/11, which I don't understand that whatsoever. Like, were they both officers? What were they doing at 9/11? What are Marine officers doing in the Pentagon? I don't know. I haven't been in the Pentagon. I do know they have military, even though it's supposed to be like run by civilians. They do have military there, but usually it's like a lot of officers, not necessarily. So wouldn't necessarily be like enlisted people there unless they were like admin. But I don't know. That's just something they just threw in there. Because also, what is it? The one girl's father was in Iraq and he was killed in Iraq. So you have like all this kind of like aftermath of 9/11, what happens and how it affects the children of like 9/11 and Iraq war and stuff like that. So that was kind of interesting that those.
Well, I think they were trying to make him seem like such a good guy you wouldn't believe anything bad about him.
Yeah, like who would want to kill this guy? Well, also they bring in mercenaries. It's like, yeah, mercenaries are bad. So that's what I kind of like about this episode. There's like almost everybody is brought up as a possible killer, and then it's kind of the not necessarily the most likely person ends up doing it, but it was like, oh, okay, but
yeah, it wasn't completely like I wasn't like what the hell. Like, yeah, these people have really expensive shoes and handbags, and they're a bunch of broke college kids. That doesn't make sense. How do you do that? How do you get ahead in life? And the girl that was running it was a business major.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, yeah, there's all kinds of messages in this.
I
mean, this the first 15 minutes we've got Navy SEAL dead, hookers, mercenaries, mission to Somalia. All kinds of things are throwing.
Pride's cooking gumbo.
Yeah, again. I'm having marital distress and I'm having trouble relating to my daughter. Let's eat.
Brody does judo to the mercenary guy, making him look like a fool.
Even though she kicks her squarely in the head, she still comes back.
And then the piano is like kind of symbolic of something that's like he can't just take it back because like he doesn't have he's living at the NCIS headquarters, but he can't go back home. But he doesn't want to bring the piano to the headquarters. But he doesn't want to send it to his home with his wife either. So I didn't know necessarily what the piano was necessarily symbolic of, other than like a finalization of his divorce or not, or well, I guess we're not in divorce procedure that we know of yet, but
Yeah, we don't know. We just people randomly. It's like the one thing no one can decipher. Like they can fly out to an aircraft carrier and get secret information, but no one can figure out what's going on with Pride's marriage. But then again, we don't know why the lady sits on the box either. All this stuff is
there was an interesting, like, they're interrogating, was it Natalie? I can't remember the one girl, like, that her dad died, and then like she has like a history of pointing a gun at her stepfather.
yeah,
But like when Pride interrogates her, but it's not really interrogation. He just like gives her food and talks to her, which is again about like how this NCIS is about personal relationships rather than action necessarily.
yeah.
It's like, I want to get to know you. Like, was there a reason you pulled your gun on your stepfather? Because like, reading these files, you look like the culprit, but like if we get to know you, you're not. Oh yeah, then we introduced Patton, the hacker guy, who is a paralyzed and a former gambling addict. Russian mob. Yeah, and then the rent-a-cop ends up being the killer, and like they make a point of seeing him drink orange soda, which he makes a silencer out of.
Yes, but you used to be able to see that how that was done on. Didn't your YouTube channels were doing that? How to make the best homemade silencer, and then all that stuff got taken down.
Yeah,
Because I remember that. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. You can't show like how to manufacture things with weapons on YouTube. That gets taken down. Because I remember like the Demolition Ranch guy, he made like homemade shotgun shells, which basically he just opened up a shotgun shell. It's like, let's put Legos inside of it instead of like a double up buck.
Yeah.
And then they're like, that's manufacturing, distributing information about firearms. That's illegal. And it's like, no, okay, whatever.
Wow. Like I said, you know who's running those companies and what their life experiences are.
Yeah.
They were like, Barney said gun was bad when I was growing up. It's like, yeah, okay.
That's out the mixes. This is more like corporate level. It's like, we don't want to be held responsible for what people do. So,
yeah, I'd like to believe it was all that, but I also think that there's an undercurrent of.
Well, I mean, it always seems personal the amount that gun channels are demonetized on YouTube almost automatically without any kind of discernment or context. Nobody looks at the context. It's just like, did this check a box? There was a gun. Like, we better. Although, secret. Secret YouTube. I think it's somebody uploaded the DVD version. There was a stand-up or a sketch comedy group called The Whitest Kids You Know.
Yes.
Which unfortunately one of the main guys died recently.
Did they say how he died? Because he was pretty young.
No. I don't want to speculate on it, but no,
We'll talk
speculate.
about it.
Yeah. And so somebody uploaded like season 1, episode 4 from the DVD, and like one of the jokes in the show, because it was broadcast on IFC, is like they just randomly had naked women in the show, and they're like, buy the DVD, and then this won't be blurred out.
Oh.
And then so I was like, so I clicked on it and I was watching. I was like, and then it's not censored. It's on YouTube. And then like the comments are like, it's been on here 7 years. Nobody say anything.
Yeah, everyone be cool. We can keep coming back to this. Just hold it together, and this will always be for us, our quiet rebellion. That's terrific.
So I thought this was I thought this was their best episode so far, but I'm guessing you like the quarantine episode better.
Yeah, that had the most. There was a lot of symbolism in there. I could see which
Yeah.
is kind of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you have these road episodes where I'm like writing stuff down, it's like, is this going to lead to this? No, it's I'm scratching stuff out. And it's like, okay, it was run of the mill, you know.
Well,
But
I also thought
looking for humorous nonsense too. I was like, what's what they really saying?
Well, I thought last week's episode was kind of weak, and so maybe this was just a pickup for me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's a lot better than last week, so then it just seemed better than it was. But yeah, no, oh wait, I have like 2 sets of notes. I'm like, now we go season 1, episode 4 of The Mentalist, Ladies in Red. Original air date October 21st, 2008, CBS Tuesday. Episode description: a wealthy banker is found dead inside a secret vault in his house, and the team delves into his secret life to find out who killed him. Credit animate new database. Showrunner Bruno Heller. Written by Bruno Heller. Gary Glasberg. Yes, that same Gary Glasberg that runs and writes the shows for NCIS. And Ken Woodruff.
See a pattern here. Yeah.
Directed by Chris Long.
Yeah, this was for me. Maybe I'm getting used to the Mentalist universe now because I'm 4 in, but it's like, yeah, the wife did it, and Jane's gonna find someone who is at least a match for him, or someone who is at least as intriguingly manipulative as he is. Which is, it's like, oh, I see the road this was going down. But
also, like, it shows off like him being, he's trying to show off, and he's being completely irresponsible about it.
Yeah,
it's like, this is the downside of Patrick Jane. His ego is going to ruin a case someday. We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we came very close to it, but I like how Lisbon's boss like explains throughout the episode. It's like, I'm not taking the fall for you. I understand this. It's like, I'll always protect you, but if you let this guy off the leash too far, I'm not losing my job over this, man. He's like putting it all on her.
Yeah.
It's like, of course I got your back. However, know that there's limits to what we're going to let Thomas Jane get away with, because that's kind of the funny parallel in this show. Is the cop side of this, they're running it like a police procedural TV show.
Yeah.
As serious as they can. And then you have this guy who is a genius, but also a dangerous person at the same time. Just dangerous to himself and everyone randomly. Like, not a physical danger, but a danger of like, oh, is he self-destructing? What's going on? Yeah, so that was...
one interesting thing I picked up on, and I kind of ran into a wall. I don't know, because I would have to like watch an entire movie to get the context for it, and I did not. But so when they find the vault, he looks at a picture on the wall, and it has ships on it, and he starts singing this song, where it's like, what was it? Farewell and adieu, you Spanish ladies, something you ladies of Spain, but we've been called back to Boston, and you'll never see us again, or something like that. So I looked it up, and so, but the original song is farewell and adieu, Spanish ladies, and it wasn't like we've received orders to go back to Boston. It's received orders to go back to England. So this specific variant is what Quint sings in Jaws to what's that? Richard Dreyfuss character, Brody.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what the context is. And so I don't know if there's something here. I don't know what this says about the scene, or if the guy saw a ship and he sang a thing that related to ships.
Yeah, he was just singing a sea shanty to show us how smart he was. Nobody knows all the sea shanties. That's like something people research in college when they go to fraternities and get drunk. They sing sea shanties. But we know Jane, well, we don't know what his background is. I assume some kind of criminal.
Yeah.
Some kind of grifter. I don't think he went to Harvard.
Well, he's smarter than he's basically Will Hunting, but if he started to scam people. Although Will Hunting probably he did scam people, but he
interpreted the law.
But he was scamming like think tanks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He could hurt normal people, but he was just going after rich people, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like, oh, okay, that's fine, right? It's like, yeah, because rich people don't, control retirements and money market accounts or anything. Screw 'em. Actually,
Here, here I have the CBI is apparently based out of Sacramento. I assume because that's the capital of California.
that would make sense.
Yeah. Oops. Other part of it?
I was waiting for them when they, because that actress that played the Russian girlfriend,
Yeah.
she's very unique looking, and I remembered her from Westworld. And is like, is he going to go
right.
in the
Yeah.
interrogation room and be like, seesaw motor functions? Stop moving. I kept waiting for it. It's like, yeah, she,
Okay, that's where I remember her from. Okay, yeah.
yeah. Her name's Angela Serafin. She has very unique looking eyes. She's Armenian, I guess. She's from like
Yeah.
when that was Russia or Soviet Union or whatever.
Also, here I have questions like: is it the wife? Is it the lawyer?
It's the wife and the lawyer.
The boat's named Princess. I don't know if that really had to do something with his daughter or not, or just in general. But I don't think it really necessarily came back into.
No, it's just creepy because the girlfriend was on there, and
Yeah.
the girlfriend's like way younger than the wife, so that's always.
Oh yeah, I have this whole thing about like it's like everyone's wealth is just a facade.
Yeah,
It's like like there's no way to actually attain wealth, but it's like but if you just put enough stuff on a credit card and trick enough people, it's like we're wealthy.
well, this guy was a money market manager, and those are always known. That's in like the what do they call that? The junk bond section of the economy is a lot of money market people invest, and they lose billions that never existed. He lost billions that no one had. It's like, yeah, what bank is those billions in? No, it's all on paper.
Jane gets a gun pulled on him again.
This time he pulls a gun on someone else.
Yeah, that's right. And it's weird because he just like does weird sleight of hand trickery stuff and gets the gun.
Yeah, and points it at a woman.
Yeah,
who's obviously like not a physical threat. I mean, maybe she is because she was sort of like she said she was in an internment camp or something. Like she's some Eastern European character with a rough background that makes her scary.
And then there was a part where Jane's talking to the wife and he's talking about Peter and the Wolf, which I knew nothing about, but I just looked it up real quick before hit pause, looked it up, and it's like, oh, it's something that the duck was the oboe, and he gives options that were neither, and then she basically picks one or the other, and
she picks the one that was the wolf was, which is one of the main characters. He didn't know that the duck.
And then later on, it's revealed it's like, oh right, like her alibi is that she was at this play, which she wasn't. So
yeah, her maid was there with her son.
Yeah, which that's shown throughout the episode because at some point they suggest that like she doesn't care about her kid at all, and then when you see the part where like the maid is hanging out with the kid the whole time, it's like, okay, yeah, that's what happens.
Well, the most telling thing was when they were telling alternate stories to the mistress and the wife, and it's like, we'll see where they go. And the mistress actually went to comfort the daughter, and the wife was running home looking for the diamonds. Oh, she's every bad thing that they said she was, but because the lawyer and the mistress were saying bad things about her, it's like, well, sure, you're going to say that, you filthy whatever, because you're the bad person, but really the wife was the bad person all along. Or was she just driven insane? I don't know. That's kind of the weird. Like, she knew how broke her husband was. She knew why her husband was broke, and she knew about all this stuff, and that's why they tortured him to death. Well, they didn't torture him to death. He locked himself in the safe room and bled out, I assume. Yeah. But yeah, it was kind of a mixed bag episode. There were elements of it I liked.
Yeah, well, yeah, I like all the mystery stuff where it's like there's enough good questions throughout the episode. It's like, why was he locked in there? Why was this? And then that's like Wendy has the diamonds, and then there's something like that. And Wendy was one of the troll dolls. Yeah. But then Wendy didn't have the diamonds. The diamonds were in the chandelier because the daughter makes a thing like, my dad built this room for me, and then that's where the diamonds were, and that's a fun reveal at the end. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I always wondered if these things were real or not.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a wire transfer to the Isle of Man, or they actually physically have $10 million worth of diamonds. It'd be a lot of diamonds, by the way, depending on their quality. Diamonds are not worth as much as they used to be. But this was in 2008, so.
The guy who died, his name was Jason Sands. I couldn't really pick up on necessarily if that really meant anything there. This episode takes place in San Francisco. But they don't necessarily take advantage of that either. It's just kind of like, here's the Golden Gate Bridge. We're in San Francisco.
This house is expensive.
Yeah. And also, like, you know, San Francisco, the whole, like, facade of wealth is also, like, that's also totally works. Although I'm not sure if at the time that necessarily, like, they meant that. But now it does mean that.
Yeah, 2008, that was a going thing.
I mean, yeah, San Francisco has always been absurdly expensive, and it's, like, even more so now. And it's, like, I think it's during the pandemic, it's the most, it's the city with the largest exodus of any other city in America.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting close to being like beating Tokyo for what it costs to live there. It's like, what? And it's a very wealthy city. Like, it shouldn't, you know, there's not like a scarcity of resources or jobs or anything. It's just so expensive that it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, it's because like all the rich people move there because it's the cool place to be. It's in the Silicon Valley area, and so, you know, all the bunch of cool stuff happens there. Just like
climate wise, it's probably, except for Northern California, the nicest climate you'll find there.
Yeah, although because there's plenty of podcasts I listen to, they come out of San Francisco. It's a lot colder than you would expect.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's mostly nice weather. But like in the morning, it's like it's cold.
When you say it's cold, it's like it gets down to 46. It's like, that's beautiful.
I don't. Well, actually, probably have to go with the desert. California cold is different from Iowa cold or Midwest cold, because like, but I think it's a desert thing because like I remember being out in California, like here, like if it's 40 degrees out, it's like that's shorts weather.
Yeah,
40 degrees in California, but like at night in the desert, it's different because like something about the desert, it just
heat.
It just sucks the heat out of you. Like, where it's different here, where somehow it can be that cold, but it's fine. It's just, but
that's what that guy was saying. That was, it was one of the podcasts I was listening to. Like, he just recently moved from California somewhere else. And he said, you know, and he was in the LA basin. And he said, yeah, the cool thing about LA was like it was shorts and flip flops during the day. And then at night you put the hoodie and jeans on and you had a fire out in your back. Well, he used to, you know, have a fire pit in your backyard. And he goes, you know, that was cool. He goes, that wasn't like Minnesota or something where it's like, oh, it's now below, you know, life ceases to exist after this temperature level. And it's going to be this way for 2 months. But then he left too because he said it was wildly unaffordable and unrealistic to even try to live there.
But I thought this was a fun episode of The Mentalist. But
yeah.
Now we go on to our third. We got Miami Vice, Season 1, Episode 4, Calderon's Return, Part 1. Although this is Part 1 dash The Hit List. Because originally this was just called The Hit List. And then for VHS releases, this episode and the next episode were split as Calderon's Return, Part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Original air date.
This one took me 4.5 hours to watch.
Originally.
No, go ahead.
Original air date October 19th, 1984, NBC Friday. The team moves to protect Crockett and his family from an assassin hired by Calderon to re-empty the void left behind. Showrunner Michael Mann, Anthony Yerkovic wrote, and George Cernow wrote it. Directed by Richard A. Cola.
No. I lost internet halfway through watching this one.
Oh.
Back for a few hours, so I was like kind of in the wilderness. But then I did manage to watch it all finally.
Okay. I was like, that's a bummer. This is probably... Because this episode felt a lot... Like the past two episodes kind of felt like, okay, this is a police procedural. We don't have the budget that the pilot had. We kind of have to calm things down. And this is like... episode felt a lot more like the pilot than the last two. It's like, oh, like now we're back at it. It's like we got music again. We got car chases and cool gunfights and stuff.
Weird gunfights, like
Yeah.
wild gunfights. Yeah, this is the Miami Vice I'm talking about.
Okay.
When it's just like, oh, just when you think it can't get more dark and catastrophic. I mean, this episode, like, oh, he's getting together with his wife and they're talking about things, and then that's all shot in the ass. And then this is, I think, the new police chief shows up in the next one.
Yes.
Because their police chief.
Well, I assume I know who replaces him, but
Yeah, well, I've seen all these. So.
yeah.
But yeah, this was a real great like 80s style Miami Vice. This is where they start to find their feet. And they pretty much do this for like 5 seasons with very few. There's some exceptions. They do goofy episodes sometimes, but this is pretty much Miami Vice. It just gets a little darker each time.
Yeah, there's a little goofy stuff up front where like they have their divorce lawyers meet between Crockett and his ex-wife, or about to be ex-wife, his wife, and so there's kind of goofiness there. The horse cop shows up. Then they immediately fire the lawyers and kind of like make up. And there's like this weird bit where like the lawyers are arguing, and they're basically like the one lawyer is like essentially making the case that because he's a vice cop and he's just like around criminal elements, he's essentially as worse as if he was a criminal himself.
Yeah, he's a bad parent, affecting the city of Miami by risking his life in insanely dangerous undercover. It's like, he's a bad guy. He lives on a boat with an alligator. He drives fancy cars and pretends to be a drug dealer. It's like he is a policeman at the end of the day. Ugh. He's also University of Miami star quarterback.
No, he's a receiver.
Or receiver, yeah.
At least that's what it was in the pilot. It could have changed. I don't know.
I don't think it changed.
Okay.
Well, I think they kind of killed that storyline because it's like, wait a minute, this guy's undercover and he's famous at the same time. Okay.
Well, also like looking at it through modern eyes, like anytime like he's in like his get up, and they're like at the police station, like basically in their undercover get up. It's like, isn't that a dead giveaway? Like does anybody notice this stuff? It's like, it was the 80s. Like, it's not like the criminals have surveillance on the cops or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the assassin shows up. He puts earplugs in, which that's kind of a nice touch. He pulls out the old Spaz shotgun, Spaz 12 shotgun.
Yeah, the Spaz 12 shotgun that is portrayed as being powerful enough to destroy a tank. It literally blows this limousine. I mean, the limousine doesn't explode, but it's like, oh, this gun is so powerful, it just like blew everyone to paste inside this limousine.
And he has this weird hold on it where he's like catching the recoil because he puts his hand like on top of the barrel.
Yeah.
Because this guy who plays this assassin, he was like a competitive shooter. So like Michael Mann, so he was like what do you call that? He's like an
Olympic guy.
Yeah, but he was like helping out the team. It was like an advisor for Miami Vice and like
okay.
And so it's like, we'll just put him in the show. That's why he doesn't talk or anything. He just shows off his skills of using weapons. But yeah, that was like kind of like all the holds and stuff and tactical stuff that they were using at the time that was new. That's what that guy brought here, and it's like it looked interesting, and that's why people kind of like say this as being a prototype for Collateral.
Yeah, I can see that. Like when he sets the shot down and quick draws on the cop, like
he does the Mozambique. Or failure to stop, because Mozambique is essentially considered racist because it's about shooting a black person.
That's what used it, but yeah.
But yeah, now they call it failure to stop, at least in military training.
FPS drill, yeah.
Yeah. So to the chest, one to the head. So, he does the quick draw, does that, and then. So yeah, a lot of the stuff I guess would be new to audiences. But people that read like, I don't know, some mercenary magazines or whatever, it's like, it's cool, they're doing the thing.
Yeah, the guys that read back then, what would it have been, like Soldier of Fortune magazine or something? It's like, look at her boobs and look at this new way to grasp a weapon. Yeah.
But yeah, then this guy's like just like killing a bunch of people. He kills another cop, or kills a cop, and then they find like the hit list, and then they find out that Crockett's on it. So they go to like it's like, all right, we need to put you in a safe house.
Custody, yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to. It's like, no, if they're coming, but they have like there's one person before him on the list, so they think they got time before they really need to like protect Sonny. So they go to a nightclub. So they have an interesting nightclub scene where it's just a fist fight between men and women, just like going all over the place, which is
and people just randomly punching other people. It's like, we're fighting. Turns around and decks some guy. It's like, well, this is a weird fight scene. But yeah, what's that character's name? Linus, the drug dealer that was before Sonny.
Oh, I can't remember the big guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, his name's Linus. Yeah, that's it. I'm looking at it right now.
But I think that it seemed like, because it's like in this part of the episode, like we know what the assassin is, who he is, but like this guy, the drug dealer is like trying to point out the guy he knows, which isn't the assassin. It's like his handler, which that guy in real life was arrested for murder shortly after this episode.
Oh wow, weird. Okay.
Yeah, so him and his brother murdered somebody in 1978.
Oh, okay. We'll see. They're really getting it right. Like, hey, we need a murderer. We need someone to play a murderer. Why not a murderer?
Or at least an accessory to a murder.
Yeah, at least somebody who dug a hole. Somebody who helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that. Doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of weird stories.
But yeah, this time, like from the previous episode, they're kind of worried about putting an informant in harm's way. This time, they're like totally cool about it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we'll put him in harm's way. Well, I mean, they don't necessarily know how dangerous this guy is, other than like he assassinated people with a shotgun in broad daylight and then killed a cop. It's like, he's pretty dangerous, but we don't exactly know. With a
telescopically sighted rifle from very far away.
Oh yeah, is the club scene after the police chief gets shot, or he's not the chief? He's like the lieutenant of vice or whatever.
Yeah, that's this. Yeah, I believe it is.
Okay.
Or when does it happen? Yeah, I think
it might be later on, because there's like at some point, like, and I guess it's like one of the few points in the show, but like Tubbs and Switek like are driving around in the Ferrari because they took Sonny to the or Crockett to Sonny Crockett took Crockett to the safe house at some point. So I think it's after, because that's when they put him in the safe house after the lieutenant is shot and killed.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. We don't know he's dead until the very end of the episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Somebody calls on that giant cell phone he has in his car.
Well, also there's like the part where like they're all sitting in the hospital, and then like the doctor, the nurse comes out and like says like, we're doing everything can, it's okay, and then like Crockett's like, all right, what's really going on? It's like, oh, well, he's probably fucked.
Because doctors always do that to like, yeah, well, we're not telling the family. But if you get shot from a high-powered rifle like that, it's going to do a lot of damage.
There's also some fun stuff if you go back and watch, like when they're racing that Ferrari down like the Miami Straits, like it's hitting some bumps really hard, and I guess the guy who plays Switek was really in the car, but it was like a stunt driver driving it, and he drove it really hard. He like forgot to wear a seatbelt one time, and in one of the moments you can watch him almost fly out of the car because he just like they hit a bump and he basically almost flies out of the car.
Well, when they pull up, when they're arresting the drug dealer Linus, the guy on the hit list before him, when they pull up and they do a close shot of the front of the Ferrari, you can see that those are sheet metal screws holding in the plastic cover around the headlights.
Yeah.
On a real Ferrari, that's inset. It's like tabbed in. They just drove sheet metal screws into the front of the car to wrap it around. Because I remember we talked about like Ferrari sued them.
Yeah.
Because they were using Ferraris, but they weren't. They were, because you could tell by the sound of the engine, like that's a V8, American engine. Because Ferraris have a lot more valves and they're a lot smoother, and even if they have V8s, they don't sound like that. that car sounds like a Corvette with like the muffler's been sawn off, like wah! It's like that's not a Ferrari sound. But yeah, it was funny because I'm also watching this in HD, and they pull up, and it's like, oh, that's just sheet metal screws holding on a clear plexiglass that they obviously heated up because it gets cloudy where it curves. It's like, yeah, one of the PAs was sitting in there with a torch heating that up and wrapping it around the front of that.
Also, this is when they're at the safe house. This is the introduction of what's known as Crockett's theme.
Oh, okay.
Which is very famous. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I don't know how it works yet, but Spotify will let you put things on Spotify in your podcast.
Okay.
If you're listening on Spotify, that might show up. For everybody else, I'm going to attempt to play Crockett's theme.
And take it away.
Yes. And just tell me if you can hear it.
I can hear it.
Okay. Yeah, it starts with something, but I don't know how I can't do the part because this is meant to be played like with 3 keyboards, or really it's supposed to be produced, not played live. And if you do play it live, you need 3 keyboards. Because I saw a dude play it live and he had 18. He was surrounded by an octagon of keyboards. Because the thing uses, because different parts use the same part of the keyboard, so things overlap. So you literally can't play it on one keyboard. But but yeah, this is a somewhat interpretation of Crockett's theme, vaguely, because I have to change some things because it's really hard to play. Let me start over. I immediately forgot how to play that. So that
I
is
immediately
vague.
recognized it. So
So that bit is written by Jan Hammer. That he also wrote the theme music for Miami Vice.
okay.
So to express the gravitas of the Crockett's theme, if you go to Spotify on the Jan Hammer page, the Miami Vice theme has 7 million listens. You know, it's pretty respectable. You know, it's Miami Vice. It's one of the most famous themes of all time. Crockett's theme has 32 million listens.
Are people trying to like cross-reference it with Vangelis or something? Or
Well, the Crockett's theme is probably better if you like shove it in a playlist rather than the Miami Vice one. Miami Vice is a bit more aggressive and kind of like, whereas like Crockett's theme you can kind of fit in a playlist somewhere because like it's mostly chill, but there's like parts later on where it's like doing but like that main chill part, like I think that's what people mostly get out of it, is the chill part of Crockett's theme. But
okay.
so, but yeah, that will show up quite often in Miami Vice, is what I'm told, is for any kind of dour moment they just throw Crockett's theme in there.
There'll be a lot of Crockett's theme in coming years of Miami Vice.
But yeah, like that, definitely this type of those more licensed music and original score. So that was definitely enjoyed that. So this was definitely, you know, one of the well, I'm not sure if it's because of the pilot, but it's like one of the better episodes. And I thought like this, you know, and we turn to the Verhoeven effects. So as I compare all the episodes, I would say that these are some of the strongest episodes, the fourth episode, because I thought all the third episodes were probably the weakest on all the shows. So that's an interesting thing. It's like, so there's some, at least in your a first season of your show, maybe your third episode isn't going to be so hot, but your fourth episode is going to be a better return.
Well, yeah, and I can tell you in the case of Miami Vice, you're going to start seeing a lot more Michael Mann as this goes on.
yeah, because
you're seeing right now.
Because what Yurkovic is gone by episode 6, so this is episode 4. So like, you guys got 2 more episodes left.
Yeah, and he's going to tap out because it pays the same when you create the show. It's like, yeah, run wild, send the checks.
Man, like, I had other comparisons to make, but I just immediately forgot them because that's what happens. Yeah, I like the NCIS episode. It was better than you did, but yeah, it doesn't necessarily have like a lot of. Well, I thought there's commentary about 9/11, the Iraq War, like what are the repercussions of those and the American life, and here they have that. And then you also have how am I going to pay for college being the impetus for every bad thing that happens in every American TV show. And then, I thought The Mentalist was fun.
Yeah.
It's interesting that, Gary Glassberg also co-wrote that episode. It's like, I know they're both working for CBS, so it makes sense. But also, like, Gary would have been running two shows at the time. Just like, I'm gonna pop in and write an episode for The Mentalist. Why not? I'm trying. Then there's more stuff about I love Cho because he just has that sardonic, dry sense of humor, and he always has something really funny to pop in with in every episode. So I'm always excited when Cho's on screen. He's just gonna deadpan some hilarious one-liner. And then
he had a good one about the one guy who's pining after the younger agent, like the football player guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't Joe say something like, like staring at her back of her head for hours, and she's gonna know then that you like her. Something like, oh, that's catchy.
Yeah, because they keep trying to. Have you heard the term shipping?
Yeah.
Because it's like putting people in a relationship. They call it shipping, and so they're obviously shipping Rigsby and Van Pelt, and then less obvious on the side they're shipping Lisbon and Jane. But it's more obvious with Van Pelt and Rigsby. Like, they're going to be an item, but. Especially in the first episode where he's like, "Hey, you should probably sleep with him," and then she's me. Yeah, Jane kind of reminds me. Did you ever watch? Well, you probably didn't. There was a British crime drama called Touching Evil, which I think lasted 2 episodes. But then they made an American version, which I love. But there's only 1 season of it. It was produced by Bruce Willis and oh crap, I just forget their names. The guys that did like From Hell and Menace to Society.
They're
a brother directing team.
Hold on, I'll find it.
Was it the Hughes brothers?
Yeah, the Hughes brothers.
Yeah. So they did the show called Touching Evil, which is about a cop. The guy. So you don't remember Burn Notice?
Yeah. Vaguely,
so the main guy from Burn Notice was the main guy in the American version of Touching Evil, and the whole thing about him is like in the very first opening scene is he walks into his house and he's like kind of like slightly disturbed. It's like something's wrong here. He turns around, somebody has a gun on him and shoots him in the head. That's the start of the series. And so the rest of the series is that he still has that bullet in his head, and it's like messing with it's like parts of his brain, and essentially like eventually he's just gonna die because the bolts like keep moving further into his brain or whatever. But like his character, because of the bullet wound, he essentially has no shame. So he just like does things without realizing how awkward and weird it is. He just gets right to the point. So that's kind of how Jane is. So that's why this series reminds me of Touching Evil.
Huh. Yeah, I could see that. Like
Okay.
I said, I vaguely remember it.
Yeah. But like, yeah, here he's at they're like, they make a bet. It's like, hey, why don't you hit on the widow? And that becomes, but that also points out the whole thing where like Jane is dangerous because like he could have ruined the whole investigation just basically because he was willing to go through with a dare.
Yeah. He either has a lot of self-confidence or there's something else working there. You don't know which. I mean, self-confidence is definitely present, but it's like, is it also like self-destruction too? And who knows? We got a couple episodes.
Oh yeah, and then there's the thing with Miami Vice is that one of the opening scenes is you have Crockett looking in a mirror because he's shaving, and I wrote down something like Crockett actually looking in a mirror rather than the episode he looking in a metaphorical mirror with the episodes previously. It's like, it's just because the other thing is trying to that a question I had because of this episode is they're kind of getting at this point is like, if Crockett wants to get back with his wife and raise his kid and be there, basically whenever he wants, if he really wants that, he should stop being a cop.
Yeah.
And essentially and he almost gets back together with his wife, but then they decide to go through his divorce because of his job. And it's like, why is this job so important to Crockett that he's willing to throw these things away? And they're not answering that yet. I mean, the hint you get from the second episode is that like, this is because it's so dangerous and thrilling, it's like too hard to just not do it. But also it's like, what good is Crockett doing? Like, is he stopping this crime and then it's like saving Miami? It's like, it seems to like whenever you put one person down, another person pops up. It's like, what's Crockett actually solving with his job in circumstances if he really wants to achieve the goals of having a wife and kid?
Yeah.
And that seems that will probably be a dilemma for the rest of the show. Is like, why does Crockett do this?
Yep. Well, I'm sure we will find that out.
Yeah.
In the coming episodes.
Yeah, same thing with Jane. Although we basically know why he does it, but it's like, why does he continue to do it? I mean, really, if he's only interested in the Red John case, well, he doesn't need to be on with every case. But yeah, he is on with every case. So
maybe it's all connected.
Actually, I don't know if they give us a timeline. Like, maybe there are like episodes where like, we don't need Jane for this one. But anyway, so if you like what you heard, and how couldn't you? I think that's from another podcast. We are on Spotify and a bunch of other places. We'll soon be on iTunes, I believe. It's still pending the process, which I think they said it would take 2 weeks. It's been that time, but oh well. I'll just keep waiting, I guess. But you can go to our main page. It's anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect, or you can go to verhoeveneffect.com and it'll take you to the same place. The way I like to remember how to spell Verhoeven is Verho, Verho, and then even right at the end. Just plug them together. Verhoeven. And then effect.com. And then there you can provide listener support, which comes at 3 different tiers: 99 cents, $4.99, and $9.99. And if you like what we do, you can support us and we'll do more of it faster. So I'm trying to remember. I forgot to do this whole thing in the last episode, so that's why I put it in there. Okay, yeah.
David Lynch said, don't worry about it. We'll fix it in post.
Well, anyways, for the Verhoeven Effect, this is Scotland.
This is Nathan.
Goodbye, America. Take us down on YouTube.